Good evening. I'm tired, but I have some notes I'd like to make. So, why not? If you've never found my videos before, why should you listen to me? No particular reason. We just hang out around here. Anyway, so I didn't have work this week. I had a whole week off, and it was great. And I ended up experimenting a bunch, trying some new things, some of them with cooking. But point is, I learned a lot this week because some of the experiments were successful, and I learned a lot because some were not. And so that's what we're talking about today. Here's just a brief list of the things that I've learned this week. Maybe you'll find it useful. So, number 1, let's start with something that went well. I successfully managed to boil pasta in a frying pan. Yep. Yes, you heard that right. Funny enough, when I mentioned this to some other people, some people I know, they were like, yeah, no, I do that. I'm glad you figured that out at your age. I was like, oh, wow. People boil pasta in frying pans. That's good to know. But yeah, like, as long as the frying pan is deep enough, right? The water actually covers the pasta, you're good, you know? See, the other way around doesn't work, though. You know how, like, a rectangle is a square, but a square is not a rectangle? So, using that analogy, you can boil pasta in a frying pan, but you cannot fry things in, like, a pot, in, like, a soup pot, in, like, a boiling pot, a pot that you boil stuff in. You can't fry things in that. How do I know? I tried that too. The reason I tried that was because, you know how for soup, sometimes you want to fry something, like saute the onions or something before you put them into the soup, like that's just part of the recipe. Well, I was like, hey, well, why don't I just fry them in the pot, right, already, and then just pour the water, like boiling water in from the teapot, and just keep making the soup from there. Well, not a good idea. I don't know if it's something about the coating or the way that, people make the coating of the pots versus frying pans. Do not fry things in pots. Everything burned. Not like horribly burned and there was smoke, but like point is that it burned and it was really hard to clean the bottom. I cleaned it, right? My consequence for doing that was that I had to clean it. But I did. Lesson learned, right? Lesson learned. Then more things with things not going right. So I was making soup and I was boiling in the pot, whatever. I put the lid on and I guess I had the fire on a little bit too high, like the flame, so it boiled over. Some of the soup bubbled and spilled over the pot. So fine, I just lifted the cap, like the lid, whatever, and I put it down so that the soup could freely boil. But some of the water had gotten onto like the stove. And I have a gas stove right now. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to clean that. Right? Whatever. But then another part of me didn't fully think through the rest of the steps and was like, I'm gonna have to clean it at some point. I might as well start cleaning it now while it's still cooking. Right? And clean it is like the part around the flame. And so I'm smart me, right? Takes the paper towel and the napkin and starts pushing it through, trying to get the water from around the flame. And then my brain's like, wait a minute. The flame is right there. What if the napkin catches on fire? This doesn't seem like a good idea. And the craziest thing is that at the first, it worked. Nothing happened. Nothing caught on fire. And then at the last attempt to keep cleaning it up when it was practically clean and there was like no more soup water, guess what happened? The napkin caught on fire. It wasn't a big fire. Nothing big happened. I just like blew it out, put it in water, whatever. There wasn't like anything big either. But once again, lesson learned. I did still have to clean it again anyway, right after I finished cooking the soup and it cooled down because it was still, dirty. I just managed to get the water out before. But hey, anyway, that. Also, so you know how we have candles, and we usually light the inside of a candle, and it burns, right? And it melts the wax. Well, did you know the wax outside of the candle can also burn and melt? Not like burn, but like melt. Also melts. It's also wax. So if you put a candle next to a flame, the outside of the candle will also melt. And similar topic of candles. So yesterday I was celebrating 3 months of living abroad, and I was like, hey, why not light a candle just for fun? Why not? We all have things that we celebrate. We all need to celebrate something because celebrations are so much fun and so worth it. So I was like, why don't I just light a candle? And so it was morning, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get a cake because I don't really want a cake, but I'm going to just stick the candle in something. And I decided to stick the candle in my bowl of oatmeal. Well, here's the next lesson. Don't put candles into warm things. Because what do you think happened? It melted. I didn't even light it. I mean, I can light it now, but it just melted and the pink started getting into my oatmeal, and I was like, that's not the end that I wanted to melt. I scooped out that part of the oatmeal and threw it out and just ate the rest, and I was like, okay, there is a reason that we put candles into cakes that are cold. There's a reason we don't put candles into warm foods. You ever notice that we don't do that? Apparently, because it melts. Yeah, but I was telling this to my friend, and he was like, I didn't even realize we could stick candles into other things. Like, not just cake. And I was like, yeah, totally. Why not just have some fun, try out some other different foods, right? I was like, yeah, I'll light this one later. Maybe I'll just stick it into, some pieces of bread. Just make a tower of bread and put the candle inside and call it a day. Actually, can I just light it now? Is this the sparkling one or not? I don't know. Maybe I should light it outside. Add a little bit more caution to some of my experiments. Another thing I learned, this one's actually not about cooking. This one is about laundry. So usually I do the laundry like in the washing machine, and then I hang it on a clothesline to dry outside. So I thought that the warmer the day, the better the clothes would dry. But some regular adulting things that apparently I have not yet witnessed and I'm only now learning is like, that's not the only variable. The warmer the day does not necessarily mean it's going to dry, because there's this thing called humidity. If it's a warm day but it's humid, nothing's going to dry. Nothing's going to dry. You're just going to have to wait until the next day when the sun comes out again, like after, like it's going to get cold at night, and then everything's still going to be wet, and then the sun's going to come out again the next morning, and then finally things are going to dry. Apparently a cooler day, but a drier day, things will dry better than a warmer day, but a more humid day. That's not like any big mistake or anything. It's just, interesting. Oh, now back to cooking, because those adventures were more fun, right? So I was making this vegan falafel. I'm not vegan, but I saw this at the store and I thought it was really cool, and I've never made falafel in terms of like a package. Once I made falafel with someone and it tasted so good, but like we made it with like all the fresh ingredients and the blender and all the stuff. I don't have a blender right now, so I wanted some falafel. I was like, cool. So I saw this vegan option where they just have dehydrated ingredients as a mix, and it's kind of like if you were gonna make cake from a box. You just dump it in a bowl, mix it with some water and some other things, in this case just water, really, and you let it sit, and it's like, okay, I did that part fine. I mixed the mix with water and I let it sit, and then I made the tiny little balls and whatever. Good, great, wonderful. But next instructions were, you can either put it in the oven or you can fry it. I was like, okay, I don't really want to turn on the oven, so I'm going to fry it. But then I saw this one video where the way they were frying the falafel was like in this pot of oil, kind of, right? Like there was a lot of oil, and they like just dumped the falafels in there, kind of like McDonald's does with French fries. And I was like, yes, great, fine, makes sense. I took my jar of oil, bottle of oil, and I poured it, most of it, into my pot. Keep in mind, this is after I have tested the fact that you shouldn't fry things in a pot. Right. So I was like thinking to myself, this doesn't feel right. Don't know that I should do this. Anyway, there's a bunch of oil in my pot. Great. And then I saw another video with like showing an example of more specifically like the exact package that I had bought of the falafel kit, and they fried it normally on a frying pan. They did not put in a pot of oil, and it turned out just fine. So I was like, oh, well, I have a lot of oil in a pot. I've already taken that action. I'm going to stop it right there. Like, I'm just going to pour some of it in a frying pan and I'm going to fry my falafels, right? But here's the consequence, right? I have to deal with the oil in the pot. Because there's consequences to all of these experiments. They're not horrible, right? I have to clean it up and I have to deal with it. But the point is, like, I have to deal with it, which isn't a bad thing, but I have to deal with it. So, yeah, so I had a lot of oil in a pot, and I had to get a lot of that oil from that pot back into my bottle of oil, because I was like, well, there's no point in wasting this oil. This is perfectly good oil. And so I like put the bottle in the sink, and then I was like pouring the oil back into the bottle. And that worked mostly well. Like, most of the oil made it back into the bottom, but there was this tiny moment where like I poured too fast and like it didn't get into the bottle, and it like spilled on top of the bottle. So then I'm left with, I have to clean the oil off the pot, and I have to clean the oil off of the top of the oil bottle, the bottle that holds the oil. So then here I was just like scrubbing my bottle of oil with soap. It's a funny scene, I think. Like, it's not like any of the water or soap was getting into the bottle because I was scrubbing like the outside, everything below the cap, but lessons learned. A lot of lessons learned, my friends. So, yeah. Maybe me learning these lessons will be helpful to you. Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, are those all the lessons? Did I do anything else that I probably shouldn't have done? Not that I shouldn't have done, but that like didn't turn out great. No, I don't know. Okay, well, that feels like it for today. So, ciao. Bye. Actually, I just remembered something else that I learned, which is actually pretty cool. If you buy meat at a meat store instead of at the grocery store, you can have them like cut off the skin for you, and you can have them cut the meat into whatever sizes you want as well. So then you don't have to do it, and they give it to you in this bag, and you can just come home. And if you're making like soup or something, you just take it out of the bag and you just put it in the pot, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be the one fiddling with the slimy skin. That's actually pretty cool about life. Yeah. I also learned some things about making soup in general. So each time I've been making soup, it's been getting better, except for the last time, because the last time I felt overconfident because I thought it was going to be better again, and so it was significantly not. But, so here's what I learned. First is that if you want soup, like chicken soup, chicken noodle soup, chicken whatever else soup, like bouillon, right? Yeah, you need the bones of the meat, whether it's chicken or something else that you're using, you need the bones. See, now I didn't know that the first time. So the first time I cooked, so the first time I went to the meat store to buy meat, and the first time I tried to cook soup with meat in it, not just vegetable soup, I got just the chicken breast. And okay, fine, like chicken breast tastes good, right? And like there's no bones to deal with. But I put it in the soup and I was like cooking it, and I put all the other ingredients in, and I was like, this doesn't taste that different from when I make vegetable soup, without the chicken in it. And that's like, okay, why? Right? Because like I wanted to make soup like my grandma makes soup, but apparently you need the bones. So I'm just saying, in case anybody's wondering, in case you're trying to figure out how to do all this stuff, like yes, maybe I can watch YouTube and whatever, but I'm not trying to make some random recipe or whatever. I just want like the soup that my grandma makes or used to, she still makes it. Just I don't live there anymore. So yeah, it tasted good with the chicken breast, and I was like, okay, so next time I'm gonna do it even better. I'm gonna get, the leg of the chicken because it has a bone in it, and I'm gonna put it in the soup. So apparently you have to cook that longer, right? Because there's a bone. It just takes longer to cook, and that's okay. And I put everything else in, and then it's just about proportions. It's how much of the bones and meat do you need for how much water. And the first time I put like a little bit, not enough. Like it tasted better. I was like, oh my gosh, this is tasting the way I like, just almost the way exactly that I like it. And I'm like, I'm gonna do better next time. But next time I put in way too big of a chunk of onion, way too big of a chunk of carrot. And I was like, that was not necessary. So this just tastes a lot like, I don't know what this tastes like. It's not bad. I can eat it, but I can do a lot better. So next time I will put the right amount of chicken and the right smaller slices of onion and or less of a quantity of onion and carrot. And the way my grandma makes soup, she always puts the bouillon part is like she cooks the chicken, she takes out that fat that comes out the top when you first start boiling the chicken, when like you put the chicken in cold water and it starts to boil, and once that fat stops coming out, you can start adding the other ingredients. And she doesn't like chop them up or anything. She just puts takes the carrot, chops in like 3 pieces, puts it in. Stalk of celery, cuts it in half, puts it in. Whole onion, puts it in. Well, she puts like a whole onion, but she has like a really big pot, right? And I'm just having a pot for myself. So I don't need a whole onion. I don't even need half an onion, honestly. I realized. I thought I liked it. I don't like it that much. Don't like onion that much. So next time, from all of these lessons learned, and also things like green onion, right? If you want to sprinkle green onion, which I think is also called scallion, we put that at the end. You don't put that in while it's boiling at all. You can just make your soup, right? And then you just cut the scallion after and you put some on top, when it's done, when you've like already put the soup in the plate. And then about bay leaves, they're super good. They smell good. Turns out you don't need to boil them a lot either. You can put them somewhere in towards the end, and all they do is just add to the smell, which is a good smell, but all they do is add to the smell. They don't add anything else to the soup, which I didn't know, like flavor or something. And and maybe sometimes I have to decide between whether I actually want to just make the bouillon part or if I want soup, because it's not actually really fun trying to dig out the peas from between the bones of the soup when you made like a lot of bones with the soup. And also I don't actually like mushrooms in chicken soup. I don't think I do. That was kind of not what I was going for. Yeah. Apparently, soup is different every single time you make it. Or maybe that's just me and my grandma, because frankly, I don't think we measure anything. Hey! Maybe I should measure some things. Maybe I should just Google a recipe where someone has made this soup and can tell you how much water you need and how much carrot and how much celery and how much onion and how much chicken and how many bay leaves and salt. So I think like all of that is like the basic stuff for me for like my favorite tasting bouillon. And then I always put in like one of those cubes. Oh, here's a good thing to know. So like those cubes that like have like the flavoring for like chicken soup or things, I still add them I usually add them when I'm just making soup without boiling meat in it. But I also add them even when I'm boiling the meat in it. But here's something to know. The cubes already have salt in them. So do not add more salt if you are adding the cubes, because then everything's just going to be over salted. Yeah. Also, cooking takes like a while, and sometimes prepping things beforehand, like even like a few things, makes such a big difference. Like, I'm going to have work tomorrow again. And yeah, maybe I'll have time to cook, but like what if a meeting goes long? And what if by the time the meeting's done, I'm already hungry? Like, I can cook, but I'm going to be like irritated because I'm already hungry. So in that case, it's good when there's like at least a little few things that are ready. Like, you can just boil pasta, right? For like 10 minutes, depending on which pasta you get. Just put it in a container, and then you can take some eggs and put them in that same pasta water and just boil the eggs and just take out the hard-boiled eggs. Now you have both pasta and hard-boiled eggs, just in case you're really hungry. Just heat up, I don't know, some hard-boiled eggs with mayo and eat a cucumber with salt, and then have some pasta with whatever you want. It's very, very Russian of me, but yeah, and it's like good enough if you're really hungry, right? So anyway, I thought that was really cool. I did also learn about eggs that you can, that like when you boil them, if you take them out and put them under cold water, then they'll stay at like the same cooking temperature that you wanted them to be, so that you so just like if you want exactly a 6-minute hard-boiled egg, then like you take it out at 6 minutes, you put it into cold water. If you don't put it into cold water, it's going to keep cooking, right? So that's also a pretty cool thing to know. Definitely pretty cool. I feel like all the things I'm talking about are like adulting things. Like, it feels like I'm learning adulting in a way, almost, living by myself and all that stuff. Yeah, but I feel like when I was a kid, I feel like these things that I'm learning feel kind of just like curious experiments sometimes. Like, sometimes it feels like, ugh, I'm tired, I don't want to cook, and every single time I cook, I have to wash all the dishes, like every single time. And so if like part of me is like learning, like, hey, maybe you don't want to cook 3 times a day or like 2 times a day for lunch and dinner. Maybe you want to cook once and then have a meal that you can eat, maybe even for 2 lunches and 2 dinners. Just have soup that you can eat, for 2 days. And then you will only have to wash the dishes once in like those 2 days, or like you'll only have to wash that pot once in 2 days instead of like 2 or 4 times, Yeah, sometimes things feel like chores, and sometimes they feel fun. Like washing the dishes, sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to do this right now. It's like, I thought I liked washing dishes, but I think I liked washing dishes when I didn't have to wash dishes every single day, all the time. But then sometimes I'm like, oh, this is fun because I have free will and I can just put a whole bunch of soap on my, whatchamacallits, scrubby thing, right? What's the scrubby thing? Scrubby thing. Anyway, the thing you scrub the plates and dishes with. I'm like, I can put so much soap on it, and I can put it on my cutting board and on my frying pan, and I can draw little faces in the foam, and the foam is so soft. It's so soft. The foam is so soft, and I think that's fun sometimes, and you can just draw like little spirals and like make handprints. And then it's fun. But that's when you're not rushing, right? When you can just like stand there and just like zone out from life and just like play with the foam of the dishes. Yeah, I'm just looking at my cabinets so that I can remember if I had any other thoughts that I wanted to share. Yeah. No. I think this time we've got it. Cool. I think this is going to end up being part 2 of the video. Oh, I guess random question. So, no. Not ready for that question yet. That will be a different video. Okay. Cool. Anyway, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you another time. Yeah. And I will maybe go to sleep soon. Bye.